Hi, my name's Phil Gardner and welcome to Fun with Boxes. Today I'm continuing my top 10 board game lists where I'm going through the alphabet, and today I'm going to be looking at my top 10 board games beginning with the letter F. Well, as I always say, these are my top 10 board games beginning with the letter F as it stands right now, right this minute, because it could change very much like the wind and rain here in Wales. Well, it could change like the wind, not change like the rain, because the rain never changes and never stops here in Wales, and it currently is rather grim and dreary outside, but inside I'm surrounded by board games, so what's to complain about? Anyway, I digress. Board games beginning with F. On my top 10 lists, I only put the games on there that we own and that we have played. And to give you an idea, I believe we own something like 127 board games beginning with the letter F. So it's quite a lot to choose from. With that in mind, here are my top 10 board games beginning with the letter F. Well, coming in at number 10, we have a game from Queen's Game, and this is, I think, a bit of a classic. This is Fresco. Fresco is a game that holds a special place in my heart because it was not long after we'd got into the board gaming hobby that we gravitated to this box when we saw it on the shelf in our friendly local game store, Rules of Play in Cardiff, and I was completely fascinated by it. Fresco is a game for 2 to 4 players and will take around an hour to play. And we are playing Fresco painters who have been hired to make the magnificent cathedral ceiling painting shine like new. And Fresco is a very clever worker placement type game where each round everyone has to decide what time they are getting up to start work on the cathedral ceiling. And the earlier you wake up, the earlier you will be in turn order and the better options that you will be guaranteed to have. However, wake up early too often and your apprentices will become unhappy and stop working as efficiently. They would much rather sleep in, you know. It's a bit like real life. And during the game you'll be performing various tasks such as raising money to buy paints, and then you'll be mixing paints and then putting the paint onto the ceiling of the cathedral. And perhaps you've been getting your apprentices up a little too early in the morning and they're getting a little bit grouchy and not really as efficient as they should be, so why not send them along to the opera? That'll teach them. They'll be far more focused after that, I think, in order to increase their happiness. Fresco is a truly beautiful game, and back in 2010 it certainly was, to us at least, a very unique game, and a game that offered so many options and things to do on your turn. It was quite a fantastic experience and was my number one favourite board game for a very, very long time. Whilst perhaps it's no longer my favourite board game of all time, it is still right up there. Well, there you go, Fresco, my number 10 board game beginning with the letter F. Well, next at number 9, a bit of a beast of a worker placement game, another worker placement game. This one, when I first bought it, I did wonder how we were going to carry it home because this was the biggest board game we had ever bought at the time. When we opened it up and started to read the rules, I was, how many actions are there to take in this game? And that game is, of course, Uwe Rosenberg's A Feast for Odin. Wow, look at that box. Look how thick it is. Wow, it's still an impressively large looking board game, I must admit. Forget about all these huge board game boxes that we've got around the house, this still is a mighty impressive looking box of a game. This is a big box of Viking joy, and my goodness, there is a lot to do in this game. Delve into the world of Vikings and dabble in trading, hunting, raiding, pillaging, plundering, and raiding some more. Build houses, explore new worlds, and every round have a feast in Odin's name. And as it says on the back of the box, the large variety of actions, they are not lying, and occupations guarantees your Vikings long-lasting fun, with each game creating a new world on your player board. And to be honest, therein lies the beauty of the game. It is an absolutely incredible game, and although the list of actions you can possibly take in a turn are mind-boggling, there's something about them and about the way the game plays and flows that, whilst it should be perhaps incredibly complicated, it's not really as bad as you first fear. Though I must admit, if you are new to the hobby, you do not start with this one. Oh no. Oh no. Let me check to see how many actions are in this beast of a game. I don't speak it. Well, take my word for it, there are an awful lot of actions for you to choose, with unlimited possibilities for gameplay. The components are fantastic. What you're doing is interesting and varied every turn. It is aptly named. It's a feast for Odin, and it's a feast for board game players. That's Feast for Odin, my number 9 board game, beginning with the letter F. And coming in at number 8, we have a game from Bruno Cathala and Days of Wonder, and that is Five Tribes. Five Tribes is a brilliant, brilliant board game. I'm not particularly good at it, but my goodness, I really do enjoy it right up until Lisa adds up all the scores, and then I have to go for a little walk and perhaps an occasional little cry. Five Tribes is a game for 2 to 4 players and will last anything from around 40 to 80 minutes. And a game of Five Tribes begins with all the wooden meeples actually on the board. And on your turn you will be picking a tile with some meeples on it, picking them up, putting them into your hand, but then moving along to adjacent tiles and dropping off the meeples as you go, and then activating the last tile you land on. And when you finish your move with that last coloured meeple that you put on the tile, you will take that back into your hand along with all the other same coloured meeples on that tile. And now you would have at least 2 of the same coloured meeples in your hand. And if you remove all the meeples from the tile, then you gain control of it, and you would place, I believe, a camel onto the tile, and all the different coloured meeples will do different things in the game. We have played this to death over the years. It really is a fantastic game and plays just as well as it did when we first played it. If you've not tried Five Tribes, I would highly recommend picking it up. I'm not sure on its availability these days, but if ever you see a copy, I would highly recommend picking this one up. It is quite different, and it really is very thinky about what tile are you going to pick up those meeples from, where are you going to move them, what colour is the last one you're dropping off, and picking up then all the coloured ones that remain on there. Are you trying to clear a tile to gain control of it, or are you trying to collect yellow meeples to gain victory points at the end, or some red meeples to attack some of your opponents? It's really a brilliant, brilliant game. Five Tribes, currently my number 8 board game, beginning with the letter F. And now coming in at number 7, we have a game from Arcane Wonders by designer Ivan Lashin, and that is the superb engine building game Furnace. What an amazing game, and what What a very distinctive cover as well. This is a game for 2 to 4 players and will take from half hour to an hour to play. And this one is really cracking. When they say an engine building game, oh my goodness, that's what you're going to be doing in this game. It's quite a quick game. Before you know it, you really have started making that engine of yours get quite significantly better as you play through the game. It's fast and easy to learn, and as they say on the box, yet hard to master. And it has this rather clever auction bidding system where you'll be bidding various numbered tiles of your colour onto a card to try and get what you want to play the game with, and the highest bidder will get the card. However, anybody else who bidded on it will get some form of reward as well, or some form of compensation. And there are only 4 rounds in the game, so that should give you an idea on how quickly the engine that you are building actually builds up and performs in those 4 rounds. Well, that's Furnace from Arcane Wonders, a cracking game, my number 7 board game beginning with the letter F. And now coming in at number 6 is the absolute superb trick-taking game for 2 players, The Fox in the Forest. This is an exceptional board game. This blew our minds when we first played this. As I say, it's for 2 players and will take around a half hour to play. And it is a game, well, it was a game literally like no other. I mean, back then, trick-taking game for 2 players? That makes no sense. This is such a brilliant game. I cannot recommend this enough. We have played this game to death. My goodness, we could not stop playing this game. If I'm allowed to be a little cheeky, what about the Fox in the Forest duet? Joint number 6, if I'm allowed to. Well, it's my list, so I think I can. Oh, and look, the artwork as well on these. Oh, absolutely smashing. And the clever thing about the Fox in the Forest is you score points for winning tricks, but if you get a little greedy and win too many, you will fall like the villain in many fairy tales, as they say. This is a fantastic game. Wonderful artwork, clever use of cards, because some cards will have special abilities. They're not just numbered cards. This really is a superb game and more than deserves to be my number 6 board game beginning with the letter F. In fact, it's number 1. Just don't tell anybody. So there you go. Fox in the Forest. If you've not played it, please go out and play it. You will not regret it. This is a brilliant 2-player game. Well, it's at this point in the list where I like to pause for a little bit and take a look at 5 honourable mentions, because as you can no doubt tell, there are quite a few board games that really could have and arguably should have made the list. But of course there's only room for 10. So one of these games is a rather brilliant game from Leader Games called Fort. This is a deck building game for 2 to 4 players with that little twist there that you all play as kids in the game. And like many kids, you'll grow your circle of friends, grab a bunch of pizza and toys and build the best fort. Oh, that takes me back when we used to be up in the mountains there playing, building forts out of ferns and all manner of different things. Happy days. And then by drafting and playing cards, you take actions on your turn, but your cards also let you copy other players' actions on their turns. It's such a wonderful game. And it has the most wonderful artwork, as you can no doubt tell from the artist that did the rather wonderful Root game, Kyle Ferrin. I absolutely adore your artwork. Superb. And it's a great production of a game. There's some wonderful quality components there, little wooden toys and wooden pizzas and fort markers. And it's just generally a brilliant little deck building game for 2 to 4 players. That's Fort. Next up, we have a fairly new game, and that is First in Flight. I'm not sure if you would have come across this game. It's from Artania Genius Games, and it's designed by Ben Rossett and Matthew O'Malley. And we picked this up a number of months ago, and we were determined to get it onto the table and not pop it onto our shelf of shame / opportunity. And indeed we did, and played it and really, really enjoyed it. It's quite a fairly light board game, and it's a game for 1 to 4 players and will last 45 to 75 minutes, and it's a deck building game that will put you into the seats of the earliest pilots, where you're all vying to conquer the skies by testing their flyers and improving their designs and taking risks to defy gravity. It's a lovely little game, and it has that very clever game mechanic that allows you to move your pawn along a track to take certain actions. So you could move quite far along the track, but everyone who is behind you will continue to take turns until they take over you. So it's the last player on the track who continues to go first in the game. So you could jump ahead a little bit, but then somebody who's playing could take a number of spaces and grab all those actions before they eventually pass over you, and then it's your turn. So it's a very clever little game, bit of a push your luck there. How far do you push things? How far are you willing to go to get the actions you need? Very similar to Aqua Garden in that respect. So there you have First in Flight. A cracking little game, well worth looking up if you can pick up a copy. And next we have a bit of an oldie but a goldie, and that is Formula D, the action-packed game of Formula 1 and road races. This is where I guess it all began there. Without this, would we have had Heat? I don't know. But if you like your racing games, this is just great dice rolling fun. And you've even got little player boards there with little gear shifts on there, so you can go up a gear, and the higher the gear you go up, the larger the number of sides on the dice that you roll, which determines how far. It's a roll and move game, how far you move on the track. But of course you have to go down the gears to slow down when you get to the corners, otherwise you could spin and crash. It really is quite satisfying when you're on the straight there and you're in the top gear and you roll in a dice that goes up to 30. So for your lowest gear, when you're in the first gear, you will roll a dice that will either roll a 1 or a 2. In your second gear, you roll either a 2 or a 4. In your third gear, 4 up to an 8. And in your fourth gear, your dice roll will be rolling 7s to 12. And in your top gear, you will be rolling a dice that will generate a result of 21 to 30 spaces. Ooh, my goodness, if you're in your top gear and you're heading towards a corner, you really need to stamp on that brake pedal. Formula D, it's just simple, it's just fun, just rolling dice. I really used to enjoy playing this game. And next we have a game from Cardboard Alchemy, the rather beautiful Flamecraft. A game that I guess needs no introduction, with its wonderful dragons and wonderful charming artwork. This is a lovely little game, and a delight to have on your table. As they say, compete to enchant the town in this dragon placement game with a shared building engine for 1 to 5 players. You're a flamekeeper skilled in the art of conversing with dragons. Gain the most reputation in town to become the master of flame. In a magical realm, a village awakes, and artisan dragons make coffee and cakes, because that's what dragons really do, don't they? Game of Thrones got it all wrong. Basically, they were just warming up the kettle. with their breath, and people just kept getting in the way. But Flamecraft, like I say, 1 to 5 players, takes around an hour to play, looks wonderful on the table, plays wonderful, and is great fun. Look at those wonderful dragons. There you go, Flamecraft. And finally, my last honourable mention goes to a game I absolutely loathe and detest with every fibre of my very, very being. It's a game that I love to hate. It's a game that very nearly made me cry. Okay? It's a game that did make me cry. The game I love to hate? That game is, of course, Food Chain Magnate. Ah, look at this box. This box weighs an absolute ton. Look at the back cover. That's not a back cover. What's all that about? Goodness gracious me. It is, of course, from Splotter Games, and it is, in actual fact, a heck of a board game. It really, really is. I say I hate it, but in truth, I really, really, really like it. It's just perhaps that I'm not particularly good at it, and it is perhaps that Lisa destroys me in most games of it. Who am I kidding? All games of it. It is, if you know anything about the game, it is one of the most unforgiving games out there. Get it wrong on your first turn, and oh my goodness, you have failed spectacularly. And it's not a quick game either. So you're going to fail. Your failure will take you quite some time. It's a game for 2 to 5 players and will last 2 to 4 hours. Yes, 2 to 4 hours. Get it wrong at the beginning, and 2 hours later, well, your head is in your hands. The tears are rolling down your face. You are swearing at your wife like you've never sworn before, and vowing never ever to play this game again. You hate it, you despise it, you wish it never existed. However, a month or 2 later, when Lisa suggests, shall we play a game of Food Chain Magnate? Despite the voice in my head screaming, no, no, sweet mother of all things holy, no, please, no, I say yes, because I firmly believe that this time, I'm going to have the right strategy and I am going to win. One day, perhaps, one day. That is Food Chain Magnate, the game I love to hate. A worthy honourable mention there. Not a game for everyone, but certainly a game for everyone to at least give it a go once in their lives. It is a board gamer's game, to be sure. So there you go. They are my 5 honourable mentions, all really, really worthy of being in the top 10 list. But now back on to my top 10 board games, and now we're going to go to the board game that is currently at number 5. That game is by the legendary Martin Wallace, and the game is A Few Acres of Snow. Well, for over 150 years, Britain and France were locked in the struggle for domination in North America. Thousands of miles from their homes, settlers and soldiers were faced with impenetrable forests and unpredictable American tribes and formidable defences. And A Few Acres of Snow is a 2-player game that will allow you to recreate this contest. Can you change the course of history with the decisions you make in this game? This is such a clever game. What really blew me away was this is a deck building game, and it's so clever. It is just so clever. The deck building aspect of this just makes perfect sense. Quite unlike any deck building game I've seen, the actual cards that you build your deck from, you can pick whichever card you want to add to your discard pile to then shuffle back into your deck and use. Some of the cards may cost you money to buy, but as an action on your turn, you could just go through your set of cards and think, I want this particular card because it's going to allow me to do this later when it cycles back through my hand. And that is such a refreshing thing to do. It is a very, very clever, very, very strategic, very, very interesting game. This is a game I'm going to want to play again and again. That is A Few Acres of Snow by Martin Wallace. And coming in at number 4 is the board game that was my favourite racing game of all time. And that game is Flamme Rouge. This is an exceptional racing game. Like I say, this was my most favourite racing game, and it really is right up there. It is an incredibly good game. You may perhaps want to drive fast motor cars, and I don't blame you. However, cycling, wow, this is incredible. This is such an exciting and exhilarating game. It really is fantastic. It's a game for 2 to 4 players and will take you around 30 to 45 minutes to play. And there's some expansions you can get as well, which add so much to the game. It really is fantastic. And in the game, you will be controlling not just one cyclist, but the 2 cyclists, a ruler and a sprinter. And you'll have decks of cards for each one of them. And they will give you the energy you need to move along the track. Flamme Rouge is an incredible racing game. It really is a fantastic game. And we've had many hours of fun with this game. A game that I would highly recommend. Well, coming in at number 3 is a small box game that we have not been able to stop playing for many months. And that game is Far Away. This is an incredible game, and also if you want to know exactly how to set it up, how to play it, exactly what I think of it, then check out my video all about this rather wonderful game. It is for 2 to 6 players and will take around 25 minutes to play, and it is an incredible game. An absolutely superb game that when you first play it, your head may well fall off. It's a game that plays over 8 rounds, and very simply, each round you will be playing a card from your hand, face up in front of you, and then picking up a card back into your hand. And you repeat doing this until you've got all 8 cards face up in front of you. But then what you're going to do is flip them all back over so they're all face down, work from the opposite side of where you first started. So if you started laying the cards out from left to right, you would then flip them all face down, and then you would go from the right all the way back through the cards to the first card that you first put down, and you will activate each card and score any points from that card activation. So what you're trying to do is make sure when you're playing cards out that you will have the symbols that you require when you go back through in reverse order and start trying to trigger the abilities and score the points. It is mind-numbing, and it is also fantastic. Utterly fantastic. I've never quite played anything like this, I don't believe. And it's a game that once you've played once, it's a case of, right, now I understand, I think what I'm doing, let's play it again. And then when you've played it again, then you think, yes, this really is clicking now. Let's play it again, because it's a game you can try and explain it to somebody, but until you actually play it and then see how the cards interact with each other and see them unfolding backwards, it's such a clever clever, brilliant game. We've really enjoyed this game so much. We take it everywhere with us and introduce it to as many people as we can. Far Away is a fantastic game, and it's number 3 in my top 10 board games beginning with the letter F. Well, coming in at number 2 is a game that is too big to hide. I mean, I can hide behind it, but this is the Kallax shelf killer of a game, Foundations of Rome by Emerson Matsushi and from Arcane Wonders. And the game is an actual wonder, that is to be sure. This is a massive game, an absolutely massive game, quite an expensive game. Become an architect in Rome in this elegant and intuitive city building board game designed by the award-winning Emerson Matsushi. It is an incredible game with an incredible presence on the board game table. I will take some pictures, but I believe I do have an unboxing video on the channel for you to check out. This is a fantastic board game production. You set this game up and put it on the table and start playing it, and anyone walking past will stop to watch. It is a surprisingly straightforward game to play, where you are literally laying claim to certain areas on the board representing Rome and putting your buildings out, and where you place your buildings will have certain impacts in the game which will mean that you're able to score more points. And because of the way this game has been designed and produced with the wonderful player trays, this makes setup super quick and super straightforward. The rules are quick and easy to learn, and you will be building your foundation of Rome in next to no time. And on your turn you will be purchasing lots within Rome that you can build your buildings or earn income, and you'll be collecting glory points at the end of each round based on the population and commerce that you've brought to the city, as well as gaining glory for civic buildings that score not only based on their own buildings but also those of your opponents. This is a very clever game, a very playable game, a game that you will want to play again and again. And I just realised here, this is a Dice Tower Essential game. So it's from Arcane Wonders and part of the Dice Tower Essentials catalogue. This is a very expensive game, but it looks absolutely astounding. And even though it is expensive, oh my goodness, I think it was well worth the money. This is a brilliant game. Foundations of Rome, number 2 in my top 10 board games beginning with the letter F. Well, that's one massive board game out of the way. What could be my number 1 board game? Well, let's find out. Well, it's another big box, and this one is Final Girl from Van Ryder Games. It's a solo game that will take anything from 20 minutes to an hour to play, and it is an incredible game. And this is the Series 1 box set. Horror awaits in this massive box set, which includes the core box and the Series 1 collection of feature film boxes for Final Girl, where you can mix and match killers and locations with various events, items and terror cards, where no 2 games will ever be the same. You will become the star in your own horror movie. This is such a clever game. This is really interesting. I mean, if you're a fan of solo games, this is one you should definitely try. And you don't need to buy this big box set. You can just pick up the core set along with a feature film pack, and you can play it that way, see what you think of the game. But I'm sure once you played it, you will be eager for more. This is the Series 1 box set. I've got the Series 2 box set as well. And I've got the Series 3 box set backed. And hopefully that'll be winging its way to us within the next couple of months. Now, I'm not saying I am good at this game. And I'm not saying I played very much of the game either. In fact, I've only played it a handful of times, and I've not done particularly well. But I know it's a game that I'm going to love and will enjoy playing for many, many years to come. This game has got an incredible, great, brilliant solo system rule set that really does make every game quite different and offers you a very, very interesting challenge. But it certainly offered me an interesting challenge because I didn't quite win the games that I played. And one of the clever things with this game is the feature film box sets. So this one is Frightmare on Maple Lane, starring Dr. Fright the Dream Doctor. And what is clever about these feature film boxes is that the game boards are actually part of the box, and they've all got magnetic clips on them so that you can actually take off, and that is Dr. Fright's board. And then you have the various playing pieces in there, I'm not sure if you can see. And then I can flip off the back part of it, and there is the Maple Lane map there, which we will play the adventure on. And again, you have the various play cards and various things you need. It's a very clever little game system, I must admit. So using this system, you can mix and match the final girls with the different characters and mix up the locations. It offers you an absolute ton of replayability. It's a cracking solo game. If you have any interest at all in solo games, I strongly recommend you at least giving it a try. It really is a brilliant, brilliant game system. Fully deserving of being my #1 board game beginning with the letter F. Well, there you go. That's my top 10 board games beginning with the letter F. And I must admit, that was a difficult list to do. There are a lot of really, really brilliant games beginning with the letter F. Any of these, including the Honourable Mentions, I would gladly play in a heartbeat. They're all fantastic games, and like I say, they could all switch in order at any point in time. This is just currently my order at this moment in time. So, what do you think of these games? Are there any games that you think should have made the list? Don't forget, I'm only making the list out of the games we own and have actually played. But I would be very interested in hearing what your top 10 board games perhaps are beginning with F, or top 5 games. I'd be very interested indeed. If you'd like to let me know, please type in the comments below. That'd be very interesting to see. And a few people have already done this on some of the other top 10 lists I've done, and it's always very interesting to see. Well, I really enjoyed taking a look at these games. I hope you did too. If you did, please consider giving this video a thumbs up, and also please hit that subscribe button. That would mean the world to me. That would be super awesome, and you would be super kind if you were to click that button. Well, as always, thanks so much for watching. Please do take care, and bye for now.